So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're located in the world and what the time is currently. I'm Linda Kane with the Cleveland Developers Group, and this is our session for, well, here it's September 2nd, I believe in Australia, where our speaker is at September 3rd already. Our session with Amit, who is going to talk about English is the new Apex and vibe coding in Salesforce. See if I can get my slides to cooperate today. So I'm Linda Kane. I'm the local user group leader. I've been in the ecosystem for, 17 years now and leading this group for almost 8 years. We're so glad everyone is able to join us today and looking forward to you joining us for other sessions. As a reminder, Agent Blazer Champion is going on right now. We're really encouraging everyone to work on those Agent Blazer statuses, learn AI in the Salesforce platform so you can be ready when your organizations are ready. Locally, if you are one of the first people to reach out to me that you've achieved the champion status, I have like 10 swag packets. They're just little packets, nothing great, nothing real big, but little things. And if you let me know you've gotten it and we can arrange to get you to pick that up at some point, I can meet you places or during one of our Salesforce Saturdays or one of our in-person events. I've got that for you. So speaking of upcoming events, we have this event today. Next week on Wednesday at 12 noon, we have a lunch and learn that is also virtual. Uriel Gutierrez and Christian Cherubin from Soliant are going to join us and talk about dynamic LWCs. They gave this presentation at Midwest Dreaming. It was really good. I'm really excited to have them talk. And then our Cleveland Salesforce Saturday sessions for this month, it'll be every Saturday at the Common Grounds Coffee Shop in the Cam Corners area from 9 to 11. I'll be there. Stop by. Work on your Agent Blazer status or anything on Trailhead, study for certs, get questions answered. If I don't know the answer, I can help you find someone in the ecosystem who can help us get an answer. Thank you again for coming and joining us. I'm sure this presentation from Amit, I'm really excited about it. I'm excited about learning more about using AI to help me as a developer, as well as to help me grow. In general, as the ecosystem changes and the landscape of how we work changes. And I'm sure many of you are also looking forward to hearing that and what Amit has that he can offer as well. So without further ado, I'm going to present. This is Amit. I'm excited. He presented this, I want to say, was it Bangalore?
TDX, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I've heard really good things about his presentation. I'm excited to finally hear it myself. I think it'll be great. So I'm going to stop sharing and he should be able to take over as soon as I stop sharing. If my mouse will cooperate with me.
Thank you so much, Linda, for having me. I'm really excited to be with the group. And this presentation is pretty much the same presentation that I used only 3 months ago at TDX Bangalore. And it seems that it's already out of touch with how rapidly things have moved in the vibe coding space. And I'm sure all of you are reading about it, trying it, and experimenting with it. The title is, obviously a little bit of a clickbait title, is English the New Apex, and talking about vibe coding in Salesforce. As Linda mentioned, my name is Amit. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Generative.ai, based here in Sydney. Been in the Salesforce ecosystem for last 15 years now. Previously, I was the founder of a Salesforce consulting business called SaaS Focus, which was based here in Australia. And we grew it from a couple of people to almost 400 people. And that got acquired by GSI called Cognizant. And then I worked with Cognizant running the Salesforce business for the Asia Pac region, which was almost $100 million business with 600 consultants. So, been in your shoes and seen the evolution that's happening in the ecosystem, and especially the way things are moving in the last 2 to 3 years. It's very exciting, but equally daunting, equally scary at times. And the only thing that we can do is prepare ourselves for the future. The future is going to be very, very different, and absolutely, the worst way to think about the future is, by relating it to what happened in the past. This time it's going to be totally different, because AI is not like anything else which has happened in the technology world in a very, very long time. So it's going to be drastically different for all of us in the Salesforce ecosystem and beyond. And this is just an attempt to sort of recap things which are happening and have a point of view on how the dev tools are evolving with AI within the Salesforce platform and outside of the Salesforce platform, and a quick demo of how we are solving for that with Generative.ai. So I shouldn't take more than 40 minutes. Happy to take questions as we go or towards the end, yeah, as it works. Uh, just starting with a quote, which I'm sure all of you would have heard. This was from the CEO of Anthropic, and this is actually, a quote which is actually 6 months old, and where he said that 90% of the code would be written by AI in the next 6 months, and it will dominate all coding within a year. And it's been almost 6 months. We are seeing this prophecy play out in the way we are doing things right now. And if you look at some of the data points, probably GitHub, which is a good reference point. On GitHub itself, we have 41% of code now AI generated. 92% of developers are using AI in their day-to-day development lifecycle, and Copilot contributing to 40% of the code bases. And when I put this slide together, GitHub was a good reference point, but it's already out of date, out of touch with what's happening with some of the other tools, like the the cursors of the world, which have probably grown at a rate which has never been seen before in the tech ecosystem. The cursor is growing faster than OpenAI, and the adoption is not just limited to hobby programmers, but enterprises using cursor. So by this time, I think we all have a fair idea of what is vibe coding, and it's a AI assistant development process. We are probably gone beyond that era of where we have to write the syntax in every line of code. We are already moving towards a stage where the first version of the code is generated by the AI, depending on the tools that you're using. But every tool that you're using has got that AI assistance within that, and you are calling for that assistance based on your your vibe of what you're building, your intent of what you're building, and your taste of what you're building, and your understanding of what the end user wants. So it's coding by intent, less, which means less dependence on actually knowing the coding fundamentals, but knowing some other skills which are more relevant with that AI assisted approach of coding. So AI is now generating the first draft. The developer is moving more into the role of an editor and someone who's able to work with that first version, iterate it effectively with the AI, and get to the final outcome. And what is most important is the collaboration, because those one line prompt creating to a magical outcome, that's usually not the case. It's a constant process of iteration and collaboration between us and the platform that we're using for coding. And there are still places where this is working amazingly, and there are still places where it's not working so well. And the Salesforce platform, which are usually implemented for large organizations with a lot of legacy technical debt, a lot of integration, a lot of complex processes, and mature orgs. It's still a work in progress. It's working amazingly for building new prototypes or starting afresh and building translating your idea into a working product within a matter of days and hours and weeks. But within the Salesforce platform, it is still struggling for multiple reasons that I talked about. But having said that, it's become a very a relevant accelerator, and sooner or later, things will transition into a complete vibe coding approach of building things in Salesforce, like it's happening in other technologies.
Hey,
And
Amit, we have two people with their arms raised, hands
yeah,
raised.
yeah,
So, Jason, did you have a question? Oh, okay. Or Sandeep?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to appreciate Amit where you're coming from. I think your history that you shared, I was really happy to see the growth and what you've been contributing to the community. Thanks a lot. My question is around the vibe coding for the legacy systems that you mentioned. Yes, like for the legacy systems, there's already technical debt. It's difficult to build the vibe coding, but then uh, like we tend to copy the code. Let us say if there are two or three Apex classes, we want to rewrite them. So what we tend to do is copy the code and then put it in the AI models like ChatGPT or Cursor, and then try to rewire it, right? Like that's something which we tend to do. But there may be some security risks. Clients would not approve of it if they know, right? But then we still do that.
yeah.
What is your opinion on this?
I think it's a very complicated area. So on one hand, we know that the productivity gain is there if we use the vibe coding platform. On the other hand, the customers have some reservations of going all in for vibe coding, but that doesn't prevent the individual developers from using the vibe coding tool. So the under the radar use of the vibe coding tool is probably 70-80% already, whereas only 10-15% of the organizations have in a structured manner adopted these platforms. So the solution obviously is really, firstly, the organizations taking that leap of faith and adopting these platforms. There are various ways in which they can have adoption of these platforms in their organizations. The Cursor, for example, is now trusted by probably 50 of the Fortune 500 companies. So if they can do that and find a secure and private way of using Cursor, that's going to be the norm. So we are just in a transitionary phase where this amazing tool is there, but our hands are tied in a lot of cases. So we are using it under the radar. Probably in the next 6 to 12 months, every organization would have adoption of these platforms, one of these platforms of their choice, and probably that would be the default way of doing things. So that's where we are, and I think this covert way of using AI is probably creating more risks for the organization than they actually waking up and having a more open and structured way of adopting these tools, because there's no way they can stop people from using it. It's in everyone's best interest that we find the right way of using it with a top down approach as well as a bottom up approach.
Thank you. That helps a lot. Thank you.
Sure. So, as the vibe coding tools become mainstream, it's not just a change of a tool, it's a change of a complete way of working. It's a change of complete uh, skill sets that are required in each one of us to work effectively with these tools. And the traditional way of having a pyramid where there is a project manager, where there is a BA, there is a architect, there is a dev, there is a QA, and then deployment. That model doesn't work at all with the vibe coding approach. Vibe coding approach really requires us to break these silos and move towards probably a more iterative way of prompting, generating the first cut result, testing, refining, and moving forward from that, which means that the devs need a different set of skill sets. They cannot be just limited to being devs. In my opinion, the devs of the future would need to have a good understanding of the domain that they're working on, good understanding to engage with the clients that they're working for, and have a visibility of the entire life cycle, right from requirement to the go live. And that is probably the devs who will transition to that broader skill set are the ones who are going to be the winners in the future. The ones who are going to be just limited to a silo, and not just dev, even the BAs for that matter, or architects for that matter, are probably putting themselves at more risk. In terms of uh, the already legacy Salesforce delivery model, 50% of our time was spent in translating, capturing, documenting, validating, reviewing each other's work, passing on things to each other, receiving things from each other. And it had a really probably productivity toll on that was massive. So it was relying at every step for a different type of human who had a different skill sets, very long feedback and loop between people within the team as well as clients and consultants. And the whole revenue model was built around people. So the more people that you have, that you build to the client, the happier you are as a company. And also just a patchwork of AI tool adoption rather than an end-to-end flow of work in this delivery lifecycle. So that delivery model is changing equally fast with the adoption of the tools. And that's what we mean by the process change that needs to happen within the organizations for the adoption of these tools. uh, the future, the way I see it, is going to be a combination of AI agents and the humans working in very small pods. So we won't have very large team, like we have today of 30, 40, 50 people teams working on one project, but multiple small pods addressing different parts of a project. And there would be a human pod leader. This pod leader would tend to be more of, I would say, a architect or senior developer who can work across a spectrum of role in the entire life cycle of the project, whereas the agents will do the heavy lifting. And there would be a single source of prompts on which everyone will be deriving the insights. And this source of prompt will be getting enriched as we move from the life cycle from discovery to go live. And then there would be a more effective AI collaboration and orchestration layer. So today, if you look at the developer experience, if they used to want to use a AI tool, they are just doing one shot prompting, starting with the prompts directly, with little or no insight on whatever has happened till that point where that development task was created. That collaboration between the developer and the rest of the team and the customer, and better visibility of what is happening between the human and the AI, would be something which will be becoming more prominent to enable an entire end-to-end life cycle. If we look at, again, coming back to the skills that we need, all of us need to be successful in this new future. I think the first is prompt engineering, because if you're working with AI, we need to talk their language, and their language is prompts. uh, the second part is the system thinking. I think people are already talking about, do I need to know coding, do I need to learn coding, do I need to learn software engineering? I personally think everyone should still learn software engineering and learn to code. But the purpose of that is not to learn any specific programming language. The purpose of that is to learn how to do a system thinking, how to join the dots, and how to be aware of what you are building, what are the building blocks that you have available for that, and what needs to be orchestrated to make it happen. And the last and the most important part is, you know the debugging skills, and a very clear appreciation for the user experience and the UI, which means a taste for what you're building. And that comes from also knowing the domain and interacting with the customer and having your own strong point of view and opinion about the problem that you're solving, and not just a specific piece of code that you're writing. So so in a nutshell, the adoption of AI tools in the dev life cycle is inevitable. It's already reached mainstream, and it will be the default way of doing things. It requires a complete revamp of the processes, where we move from larger project teams to small pods of 2 or 3 humans and these agents. It requires reskilling of those humans who are in those pods, and most importantly, uh, a complete different model of commercial engagement between organizations, service providers, and the companies who are having these projects delivered for them. If you look at the AI stack, developer stacks available from Salesforce, I don't know about this group, but whenever I talk to a user group, I ask them, are they using Agentforce for developers or Agentforce for flows? Probably less than 10-15% people are effectively using those tools, which is a shame, because these are good tools, and Salesforce is so caught up in the Agentforce hysteria that sometimes these foundational things don't get enough messaging, they don't get enough attention, and as a result of that, people are probably using less of these tools and jumping straight to the likes of Cursor, which have become omnipresent in a developer's life. But there are still, for every stage of the life cycle, there are tools from Salesforce which are effective. From everyone who I've spoken to, they find the Cursor experience way better than Agentforce for developer experience, unfortunately. And that really needs to change if Salesforce wants to keep the developers on this platform. Otherwise, I see a huge exodus of people moving directly to the likes of Cursor. So on the AI tools for requirement and design, we have Agentforce to build those agents which can capture requirement, process requirement, create the design, the solution, the user stories, and of course there is prompt builder and agent builder to do that. On the AI tools for assisted coding, again, code builder is much improved. Agentforce for developer, supposed to be a good tool. The reaction has been quite mixed. Agentforce for flows still getting lost in the crowd, and especially with the advent of MCP, and it will be under further pressure. And Apex Guru probably supposed to be a big advancement in Apex creation and improvement, but doesn't seem to be having much impact. Similarly, the AI tools for quality assurance, I think the level of awareness and usage is still limited. Agentforce for testing and data seeding, DevOps Center are all GA now, but haven't seemed to caught the imagination of the average developer. So the reason for all of that is the fragmentation of these tools. We already saw those tool being in multiple silos of dev focused tools or BA focused tools or QA focused tools. It's sitting in silos, which means the experience is completely disconnected, and the output that is created in one dev tool is now getting copy pasted into another developer tool, with the context of the entire requirement getting completely lost. There's a complex process of context switching, which creates inefficiencies and limited context being passed on. And there's no end-to-end orchestration hub where we can see how things started in the journey from discovery till the point it came to the developer. Today the developer is seeing a developer task and jumping onto Cursor to build that, without having the benefit of knowing what was the high level requirement, what was the user story, what was the acceptance criteria, what was the low level requirement, and using that enriched information to do their coding. So that whole experience and is broken, leading to probably the challenges in adoption of these tools, and a very fragmented adoption of the tool, putting organizations at risk, creating data privacy issues, and all the other things which come with these fragmented adoption and covert usage of these tools. At Get Generative.ai, this is the problem that we are trying to solve with our platform. So what we have built is uh, agents to help you with by being a part of your team for different roles. So we have built agents for and Salesforce specific agents for doing the role of a pre-sales agent, doing the role of a designer, which is a business analyst, doing the role of a developer, which is the build agent, and then the testing agent and the managed services agent. All of these agents are grounded in a Salesforce specific retrieval augmented generation layer that we have created. So we have agents which look at all the Salesforce help and reference data, all the product data sheet, extract that and break it down into the modules, submodules of those solutions. And these are the Lego blocks which are brought together right at the pre-sale stage to create the solution. On the behind the scene, what we've also done is created the ability to collaborate within the team, collaboration between all of these different roles, uh, being able to create a single source of truth and prompt for all of these agents, so that there is a continuous enrichment of the prompts, and you're not starting with your own prompt but having a enriched prompt being passed on from one agent to the other in the life cycle. And most importantly, the best practices adoption. So we have behind the scene, we have probably 100,000 prompts which make reference to industry best practices, which make reference to Salesforce technical best practices, like Salesforce well architected framework, and make reference to the Salesforce specific data model architecture guidelines, etc. So that is the layer underlying it. The experience layer is the agents which you make part of your pod, and then the integration, it's completely integrated with the mainstream collaboration tools like Jira. It also has the ability to bring your own LLM, and also integrated with Salesforce and Agentforce for developers and CodeGen in the process. So that's how we are trying to solve this problem. I've got a quick demo which I'll go into right now to illustrate this approach, and in the process also talk about what the developer experience of the future is going to look like. So before I hope you guys can see my demo screen now. Uh, Before I move there, happy to just pause and take any questions on what we have discussed so far.
So I do see a question asking if you'll share the PDF of the presentation later.
Yeah, absolutely. I can share that link. Okay, so just going into the demo, so these are the agents that we talked about. So we have the pre-sales agent, which is able to create the discovery plan, run the discovery with the client based on that, process that input effectively to create the proposal, including the high-level solution, the the timeline and the cost for implementation of that project. Once that cycle is complete, uh, all of those inputs is passed on to our design agent, which is pretty much like a business analyst. It then creates a deeper discovery plan, runs the discovery, and as the discovery is happening, it starts writing the user stories, the acceptance criteria, as well as the low level design. It is then passed on to the build agent. So the build agent is the technical architect. What it does is that it has a 10-step reasoning engine which encompasses the user stories, the acceptance criteria, the high level requirement, the architecture guidelines, the metadata which we extract from the Salesforce platform as well, and then creates the implementation workbook which becomes the step-by-step guide for the developers to follow to build things. As far as the configuration is concerned, we are going to take the XML approach of building out the configurations. The whole visual approach of building configuration, probably the jury is split on that, whether that works for people just staring at the screen waiting for things to happen, or they prefer to just push it out through XML uh, into their environment and then take it up from there. As far as the coding part is concerned, our code agent, which is again our purpose-built editor, takes over it. Now, the beauty is that it's not just getting a one-line code from the developer themselves, but the buildup of all of these steps going into one very large enriched prompt for the coding agent to build out those code. And you can also add your coding best practices that you follow within the organizations into the platform. And then the test agent comes in once that lifecycle is complete, creating the test strategy, test plan, the UAT, and other test scripts which can be run, and the defect management can be enabled within the platform. Before we go live, we also enable the support agent, because by now we have the code base, we have the metadata, we have the requirement. So the support agent is able to take on any request for minor enhancements or change or break fix, and able to triage that effectively, and creating clear steps for the human support agent to execute and solve the problem. So those are the agents. If I quickly, go through the pre-sales agent, what the journey looks like. So suppose our discovery has been completed with the client, we come to the platform with that information, we select the clouds that we are using to build out that solution. And again, we can take on agent force, we can take on the core cloud, we can take on marketing cloud, or any of the industry clouds. It allows you to do a multi-cloud implementation. And this is where our RAG comes into the picture. So behind this cloud is our RAG, purpose-built RAG, which has looked at all the Salesforce help and reference data, the release notes, etc., to keep it updated about the solution possibilities. Once that is done, we choose the industry, because there are prompts which bring in the industry best practices as well. And then we copy paste the information, or do a voice recording, or drop any structured, unstructured information that we have. And the first thing the platform does, it starts extracting the high level themes from that requirement. So it's a completely agile aligned platform. So it first extracts the themes, which you then review and edit or add to. Then it extracts the key business outcomes that you're trying to deliver. So it helps you, fine tune these two foundational areas before you move into the solution. So you choose next, and it probably takes about 10 minutes to create the first cut proposal. So I'll just jump to what a proposal looks like to give you an appreciation of the outcome. So the outcome of those steps is an executive summary, which is completely editable. Then the second part is the solution, where the magic happens. So as I said, it extracts the themes. From that themes, it extrapolates the epics. From the epics, it starts creating the requirements or the features. And it also gives you citation of where it picked up that requirement in your input, so that there is no hallucination, or hallucination is minimized. And then it starts creating the high level solution from our RAG. uh, the way it writes the solution ensures that you have complete visibility of why that solution has been proposed. So it always gives you a solution reasoning. And if you believe anything has been missed out in the solution, you can add the solution manually from our RAG, uh, or get the AI recommendations, where you can just put in a natural language prompt, and it gives you the Salesforce tools that could be used to deliver a Salesforce specific solution. Once that is done, we what we do is we also connect our metadata. If it's an existing Salesforce customer, we connect to their metadata, extract the top 50 metadata objects, including metadata from managed packages as well. So it extracts the metadata. It gives you the interpretation of that metadata in natural language. So for example, here there are 74 flows. It is giving me the natural language description of each of those flows. It also gives me the XML, and all of this is getting factored into the solutioning upfront. So it's not building additional technical debt. What it is doing is looking at the metadata and aligning the solution to that. And the other useful part is that you can chat with the metadata. Just instead of just looking at the static metadata, you can also ask questions specific to the metadata, where it does a deep research and comes up with the technical remediation associated with that. So for example, here the request were to perform object deep analysis for the opportunity object. It created this research plan saying, I'll look at the object summary, the record type summary, the field, blah, 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 and all of that. And then it starts executing that deep research and comes up with a final recommendation, saying these are the 5 recommendations, these are the effort involved in each of those recommendations, and finally the overall recommendation from a technical remediation point of view. So this is a good standalone tool itself for health check analysis of any org. And of course, in the pre-sale stage, it is flowing into the solutioning so that the solution is aligned to the best practices. Uh, Once all of that is happening, the AI insight then tells you what are the gaps in the requirement inputs. So this is what you can use to get further inputs from the client. You can actually, have them upload documents or voice recording directly if they don't want to be locked in a room for a discovery session. You can. It's a collaboration platform, so you can add the clients and other team members within the platform. We talked about the collaboration and orchestration layer, right? So that's how we are solving for that. Once that happens, the solution gets updated, and the project plan gets created, which talks about the phases and the roles that are being used. And you can share the final proposal, you can download it. It allows probably a proposal lifecycle to move at 10x the speed, and probably have complete alignment with the Salesforce best practices from the very get-go. So once the pre-sales stage is over, and you're commencing the project, all of this moves to the design agent. We talked about context loss. There is zero context loss here because all the inputs is now flowing into the design agent. And what the design agent is doing, it's processing that input to create the project brief, and then it creates a discovery plan. So the design agent is telling you that these are the questions that you need to ask the customers for us to start writing the user stories. And as you get answers to these questions, the user stories start taking shape. We talked about the depth within the user story. So we have the acceptance criteria and the low level solution, which starts taking shape at the user stories level itself. And this is where the human in the loop comes in to review this before it moves to the next step for the build and the agent. And the whole life cycle of writing user story, it's happening instantaneously. You are also able to connect this with your Jira org if you're using Jira, to have a two-way sync with Jira and groom the user stories there. Once that approval is complete, all of this context is now flowing to the build agent. Now, what the build agent does is it thinks like a technical architect, and it takes all of that inputs and starts writing the implementation workbook. So now we had the same themes, epics, user stories, the high level solution, the low level solution, and now it is getting updated with the implementation workbook. Now, whether it's a Apex or it's a page or a custom, all of those things are now getting a detailed step-by-step guide of what needs to happen. So as you can see, there will be detailed developer notes, and it will only create things which are required to be created delta. Otherwise, it'll just use the existing things and recommend enhancements to those things. So the developer notes really help the developers now having the complete context, we talked about this context, and developer directly jumping to cursor. Now the developer has the complete context. They can see all of this in one place against this user story. They know that these are the developer tasks that have been created for things which require coding. This complete input flows into our coding agent. So it identifies the file that needs to be created, the description, and passes on all of this inputs. Just see the level of depth of the inputs that is getting passed on to the coding agent. So the coding agent again currently allows coding with Gemini or Claude or Codex, and you are able to generate the first cut coding. You are able to do the compilation of the code here, as well as a deployment of the code here. And for the developer, the whole life cycle moves very smoothly with the complete context of the project happening at the same time. Once that cycle is complete, the test agent comes into the picture. The test agent is able to write the detailed UAT steps for the customer, which ensures that the customer is not overwhelmed in the testing life cycle. So it writes the test cases for the customer. It gives them the steps for testing, the expected result, and what is pass or fail, and the ability to do the defect management and the test run planning within the platform. So it enables, as I said, it's a collaboration tool as well. So it's enabling everything that's happening in the life cycle in one platform. Before the end of the project, we also enable the support agent, which is a miniaturization of all of these agentic capabilities. So we have the code base, the metadata, the documentation in one place, which allows us to triage any incoming request. And now with Jira opening up their MCP server, it's easy to get the tickets directly from Jira with the complete context of the ticket. So what it does is it starts writing that it does the triage, it does the resolution plan, the solution at a high level, low level, as well as the implementation steps to achieve that outcome, and also the test cases to test that outcome. So so instead of us being lost in multiple tools in silos, we have an agentic layer where the agents are working with each other, with the human in the loop for the review at the right place, and enabling a complete Salesforce implementation and managed services cycle from start to finish. So that's the platform that we have built, and I'll pause now for questions or clarifications or anything else. I think there are a few questions.
So we have a couple of questions.
Yep.
So it says, can you please explain reading metadata from low-level designs? How is the input fed to the agent?
So the agent, there are all of these agents use the metadata. So the pre-sales agent use it only for the solutioning part, whereas the design agent uses it to write the user stories and the associated acceptance criteria and the low-level design, and the build agent uses it to create the configuration workbook. So the metadata is one of the 10 things that is used in this agentic flow, along with the high level requirement, the low level requirement, the user stories, the acceptance criteria, as well as the Salesforce well architected framework and the architecture guidelines. So that's how it is fed, and it is fed as being stitched to the prompts. So it becomes part of that prompting, and it automatically flows into the prompt for those agents who are creating those outcomes. And
There's one
next,
more question on there also. Can you please explain what is the RAG from which each agent type is extracting context to
yeah.
create the
So
output? And
yeah.
is it the database of previous proposals?
Yeah. So in our case, we have a full stack offering. So we have the platform as well as the implementation services. At this stage, we are not translating the learning from one project into other, because the customers have some reservations about that. Our RAG is a purpose-built RAG, which is based on the publicly available Salesforce help and reference data. So we have an agent which crawls all of the RAG, uh, crawls all of that information and extracts based on our prompts the modules, submodules of those clouds. And then we have our humans who review that, and that becomes part of our RAG. And it's constantly updated as the new releases come, as the new release notes are updated.
So those are the only questions I see in the chat right now. If anyone else has any, you're welcome to unmute and ask.
Um, so we're currently not using Agentforce for Developer on the editor that we have. Unfortunately, Agentforce for Developer is only available on VS Code. What we are creating is building a connector to the VS Code editor where we can push out our first level code into VS Code, and then the Agentforce for Developer can take over from there, or they can just pull in our prompts for those code files and start working with Agentforce for developers in VS Code directly. Great. I think they seem to be the only questions. Happy to take anything online. If anyone would like to unmute, or are not just questions, comments are welcome as well.
Amit, what kind of usage are you seeing for the other AI tools that are out there? Like I know my company is currently pushing us to try either Copilot or Claude Code.
Mhm, mhm. I haven't had much feedback on Copilot as such, but Claude Code absolutely it's been quite amazing coming in the last few months. Cursor is probably the winner right now at this stage, uh, but I think the quality improvement in each of these coding platform is what is exceptional. So all of them would probably be performing at the same level sooner or later. It's only the developer experience which will be the make or break. And so far, I think Cursor seems to be winning on the developer experience. Even if they don't have they're using the frontier LLMs, but the developer experience is making them a winner. Awesome. So if there are no questions, you can continue the conversation with me. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to chat about all things AI development and anything else. And do feel free to drop your questions or in LinkedIn, and please do connect. And all the best for this transformation and evolution. The next few years are going to be very interesting, and a very high risk period as well for all of us in the ecosystem.
Thank you, Amit. Love your insights, and your tool looks amazing. I wish I got user stories that were well formed so I could use it. um, um, I think this is great. As he mentioned, if you have questions, please feel free to connect with Amit, or you can pass them on to me. I'm happy to pass questions on within the ecosystem, and I will have the recording up as soon as I can, and we'll send out emails to both attendees and those who RSVP'd but could not make it with the links so that they'll be able to access it.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks, Linda, for having me.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Amit.
Cheers.